Today, I'm going to be sharing with you 4 famous high-risk home births. I say high risk with air quotes because high risk is subjective. But anyway, that's a topic for another podcast episode if I haven't, said it enough already. I'm just going to dive right in and I'm going to exercise my storytelling abilities. So come along with me. It may be like a carnival ride where you're sort of being jolted around, but nevertheless, I will begin. Kate Skinner gave birth shortly before 9 p.m. to Daisy and Violet Hilton on February 5th, 1908, at home in Brighton, England. After uneventfully laboring for 16 hours, baby A emerged in vertex position, that's head down, facing mother's back, so this is the most common position we see. As her legs did not descend, the nurse midwife investigated, expecting the breech of baby B, but couldn't understand what the trouble was. A few minutes later, baby B's feet came down, and in 10 minutes, they were both delivered with no tearing or hemorrhaging from mom. The babies were weighed at approximately 6 pounds each. So what was the obstruction? Well, Daisy and Violet were pagopagi, conjoined twins attached at the sacral region of their spine. That's way down low. The placenta birthed 10 minutes later with otherwise uneventful recovery, according to Dr. James A. Rooth's report. So you just heard the relatively, pretty much extremely uneventful birth of conjoined twins. Not just the birth of conjoined twins, but the vaginal home birth of conjoined twins. Isn't that wild? To just tell you a little bit more about Daisy and Violet's story, Kate's employer, Mary Hilton, was present at the birth and took custody when Kate tragically rejected her daughters. Their life goes on to tell a sad story, including the birth and adoption of Daisy's own child, with both sisters ultimately passing away at ages 60 in early January of 1969. I've included, as always, references in the show notes, so make sure to read the rest of Daisy and Violet's story. The birth report, the doctor's report, includes some more details that are kind of fascinating if you're a birth nerd like me. And otherwise, their life story can be found on the unreliable Wikipedia. I think I included a link for that, but there are other sources as well. And feel free to explore. It really is kind of a sad story if you think about the era, the early 1900s. We're talking, circus acts and freaks and things like that. So, be warned. But it is kind of fascinating. And their birth, a great example of the things that are possible when people are not expecting things to go horribly wrong. Next story, we have Kimberly, the wife of actor James Van Der Beek's birth story. James is the guy from Dawson's Creek. In case you don't know actors very well, I am one of those people that you could tell me a celebrity's name and I'll just stare blankly at you until you explain more. So I thought I'd add that little detail just to give some context. So Kimberly says that she awoke with a contraction in the early morning. A couple of hours later, the midwife and midwife's assistant and Dr. Stu Fishbein arrived to support. As the baby was emerging, a foot and bum came first, then the rest of the baby. A breech baby boy born less than 3 hours later. Totally uneventful, yet she was told by her hospital practitioner that she would absolutely not be allowed to birth vaginally and that her only option was a cesarean. That's why she chose to get educated and find a practitioner trained in breech vaginal birth, and then went on to have a successful home birth. Church and State Designs is a Montana family-owned company founded on the values of truth, action, and freedom. Their mission is to equip women and families with safe, discreet, and fashion-forward options for carrying self-defense and emergency prep tools. Church and State Designs is reinventing firearm concealment with their inconspicuous, fair trade leather accessories and uniquely crafted bag inserts that ensure the safe and accessible storage of a variety of tools, including knives, tasers, flashlights, tourniquets, etc., as well as compartments for your everyday purse essentials. Shop at churchandstatedesigns.com for fashionable self-reliance and enjoy 10% off your order when you use code CHAYA10. With their revolutionary products, Church and State Designs can help you conceal carry beautifully because you are worth protecting. Next birth story, Monica's birth. You may remember this name from last episode where Monica shares the details of her story, but for the sake of this episode, I'm going to give the brief rundown, but be sure to go listen to her story. After 3 C-sections, her doctor said her uterus was incapable of carrying another pregnancy, made a comment about how it was paper thin, tissue paper thin, something like that. And so Monica decided to have a tubal ligation. That is the procedure that provides permanent birth control. It can be reversed, but anyway, it's commonly called getting your tubes tied. In the surgery, your fallopian tubes are cut, blocked, or sealed off to prevent pregnancy. So after she had that done, and after some time, she regretted the procedure and eventually felt called by God to reverse the procedure. She consulted with an OB who was not fearful of VBAC, which is an important detail, and decided to get it done and then became pregnant. After 4 days of on and off labor at around 42 weeks of gestation, Monica was considering going in for another C-section. She was exhausted. At 3 o'clock in the morning, her sister sort of randomly texted her and was able to encourage her to call the midwife. When the midwife arrived, Monica felt renewed motivation and went on to give birth victoriously. After some time, she became pregnant again and then gave birth at home again, unassisted, birthed their 5th baby. It's really a must-listen episode. If you didn't get a chance to listen to last week's episode, please go and listen to it. It really is a beautiful, beautiful story. It gave me goosebumps, and it really was quite an inspiration. So make sure to go listen. And this is another great story, great evidence that, doctors that are fearful or maybe unwilling to educate themselves, they are not the best resources. And go find people that are educated and are open to alternatives or open to really hearing and seeing the person that's in front of them and able to, make decisions and give their recommendations, their resources, their advice based on the evidence presented to them rather than, just algorithms and things like that. All right, continuing on to our 4th story. So we have Amber's birth. Triplets, naturally conceived, born at 38.2 weeks gestation, born at home with midwives present. They were trichorionic, triamniotic, meaning they had separate sacs and placentas for each baby. Baby A, Ilana, was born cephalic, so that's head down. She was born with mama in the standing position and was received by her grandmother. Healthy and beautiful, they had to cut the short umbilical cord after it was done pulsing so that Ilana could nurse. Then came baby B, which was Ivy. She was born frank breech, born en caul. So frank breech is when both legs are straight up and it's just a butt coming straight through. And en caul means that the amniotic sac had not broken. She was born with mama in the standing squatting position, also received by grandma. And she was also healthy and beautiful with a little bit of a short cord. Baby C, Israel, was registering low heart tones, So midwife Christine Loria performed a breech extraction for placental abruption. He was born spitting and sputtering and healthy, even so. All babies weighed over 5.2 pounds. And while Mama did receive postpartum Pitocin and fluids after all the babies were out, all 3 placentas came at approximately 45 minutes. Now, I don't want to get into the nitty-gritty of her story. Why did she receive Pitocin? Why did she need fluids? What is a breech extraction? What's placental abruption? Those are all things that you can learn more about from her birth story itself. There were a couple of places where she shared her story, and of course I've referenced those in the show notes, but I don't want to share too much here in this episode because I don't want to take away from the ultimate goal of this episode, but also I don't want to take away from the people, these mamas and these women that were actually there. I don't want to take away from their storytelling. So please, please, please go watch, go listen, go read all the stories, especially Amber's. She was on a couple of different podcasts sharing her story, and she actually has a birth video. Please go watch that. It is amazing. And that's where some of these details can be made a little clearer if you're a birth nerd and you're wanting to know more about these different things that I've mentioned. So this was the 4 famous high-risk home births episode. And I guess the point of this episode is to share with you all high risk, in quotes. All of these were successful and spectacular home births. Every single one of these are like horror stories to people that are deep in the system. It brings them lots of fear. They would, say things like, oh, you absolutely can never have vaginal birth. That would never be successful. That'd be so dangerous at home. All these different things. But here we have stories proving that these types of births can be successful. They can be wonderful, and they can be done at home. And I feel like I think the common denominator here are practitioners who are knowledgeable, who are open, who are willing to not let fear rule the day and rule their practice. So I guess that's the moral of the story, is that even these kind of wild cases, we have conjoined twins, we have just a standard breech, we have a VBAC after 3 cesareans, and we have triplets, all born at home. All these beautiful, empowering stories, and it's possible. It's possible. That's the point. That's the real point. These are possible. So if someone's telling you, no, it's not possible, well, here's your evidence. Yes, it is. If what I'm sharing here resonates, I want you to know there's a hidden place where this conversation continues. The Secret Series is a private, audio-only experience I designed to walk you through the exact preparation most women are missing. In each episode, I address a real problem families face and link you directly to the resources that solve it. No more having to hunt or piece things together on your own. This is the best place to begin if you're serious about radical responsibility in the context of birth and early parenthood. And if you already know you want to prepare well, this is the series that will help you understand what you actually need next. The Secret Series is free, but it's not public. It's only available through my website when you subscribe. Find the link in the show notes below, and I hope to see you in there. Intended for educational and entertainment purposes only. Nothing in this video is medical or legal advice. By engaging with this content, you agree to take full responsibility for your own experiences and decisions as a result. Everything on this channel is property of Prudence Ministries, a private healing association, unless otherwise stated. Blessed is Adonai, divine sovereign, who brought us to this place and this time for this purpose.